Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the 13th Fleet After Action Report. We are very, very happy to have you here. We are also happy to let you know that we are still sponsored by Admiral Tater's Ship Shop. We have not ticked off Admiral Tater yet, which is good because he's still on the show. But if you are looking for the absolute best in Armada accessories, this is the place to go. I use this stuff. A lot of tournaments use his stuff for prize support, so it is definitely something that you want to check out. With that, we've got an interesting show for you. We got a little bit of a rundown of how our week has gone, as well as a look back at Worlds from a statistical standpoint. And then, of course, stay tuned. At the end of the show, we will be definitely talking about the contest winner. So with that, we will go ahead and get the crew on board here. How's everybody doing tonight?
Doing pretty good.
Just another manic Monday.
And I think I let the cat out of the bag already, unfortunately, because I've got the graphic sitting in there. But so we'll just start with that because I accidentally left the graphic live. Want to congratulate Caden. Caden, you have won the contest. We are going to be renaming Thursday Night Armada to Midrim Mayhem.
All right. Congratulations.
So Garrett's choice won out here.
Okay, I'm back. I'm so sorry. I lost you guys.
No, that's okay. I accidentally left the graphic live, so when I opened everything up, we had the winner sitting there in our graphics box, and so we went ahead and said congratulations to Caden, who is the one who came up with Midrim Mayhem.
Nice.
Kind of ran away with the vote.
Yeah, really did.
It's a good name. All right, it sounds.
Yeah, I liked it.
Mid-rim mayhem.
And I do have the
correct.
graphic that we will be using from the show from now on in there as well. So hope everybody likes that. But we're looking forward to what the change will bring there. But moving on, we did get to play some on Thursday. I got to play against Garrett, and actually, I think that was less of a game and more of a tutoring session.
I mean, yeah. I would say so. We treated it more like that. Trying to get you into the zone of squadron placement and like ship planning of like where to go when a game starts. Deployment's super important. All that stuff.
Yeah, I'll be perfectly honest with everybody. I have spent so much time trying to improve the stream and making sure all of this is going well that I have not been as focused on the game as I would like to be. But
And the cameras look real good right now for our stream. Like crystal clear.
Yeah, I am very happy with how that turned out. I'm also quite pleased at the I've upgraded the encoding quality, so the transition to YouTube should look every bit as clear as it did on the live stream.
Love it.
Yep.
But speaking of the live stream, Nick, you were on the stream.
Yeah.
You got 2 games in.
Aaron and I, we played quick, so we knew pretty quickly that our first game was going to be very short. So we're like, "Hey, play for 2," and he was like, "Yeah, let's do it." So we just buckled down and played for 2.
That's
Yeah,
we.
Listen, I'm never. I try to avoid slow playing Armada, even. But you can see it in my list construction typically.
Aaron's build seemed a little bit unusual.
He's been. What was he trying? He was trying the Maydeen thing. With the 75 and the MC80, the Liberty.
Yeah.
He's just trying this like really aggressive profundity drop, Shriv, Mon-Caron combination. It's pretty nasty. We had a couple good games though. I guess I'll talk about game 1 and then I'll just go into game 2. So our first game, It was my Rift Ambush. I'm playing my Shenanigans Fleet, my farming objective list. Now, we took Rift Ambush out. I've been kind of on the fence about it as an objective. I just don't like it. It's the one that gets picked when I play that list, and I don't really have a meaningful way to capitalize on it. It doesn't really give any points. You can't farm with it. I'm better off suited with like abandoned mining facility or something like that. So he played Rift Ambush. He deployed across from me, and I tried to use the Rift to come in hot with my Quat ISD. So my list uses Quat with Admiral Ozzel, not the officer Ozzel, to get a jump off the starting line, and then Phylon Q7 tractor beams with an interdictor with the G8s to do a kind of redundant speed effects with the Gravity Rift, and then I have Gravity Shift Reroute to throw the Gravity Rift at somebody. One thing that's fun about Rift Ambush is that second player places every obstacle, so I can place every obstacle around the Gravity Rift, put my token right in the middle, and I can reshift every obstacle in the game depending on how my opponent deploys. The issue is that Rift Ambush, the benefit, doesn't really work that well. So he was able to just kind of like skirt around it with that extra, even with the no yaw, that extra little bump, got his MC75 enough distance that he was able to come around the rift. And so I don't know, I slowed him down. I tried to do this like positioning thing, but he was still able to fly his ships in together. So all the speed shenanigans just kind of made the game slower than any kind of positioning advantage to me. So we got in heavy. It was a lot of dice, a lot of big punches. I had a major quad shot where I threw my full salvo with my extracts. I hit him with double accuracy, 12 damage. I had used my on-cannon batteries to make sure he had no token to refresh his ECM, so I knew his ECM was gone. I said, no brace token, 12 damage to the face. That MC75 is dead. It was already like no shield. It was at like 2 hull damage. I was like, there's 12 damage, no redirect, no brace. You're taking this. And he said, Lando, reroll all your dice.
Oh.
And so I rerolled 12 damage into 6 damage, and he said, and I live, and I shoot you back. So it was brutal.
My Lando was that lucky.
I love Lando Officer, man.
It was amazing. I was like, I had 2 red doubles, I had 4 black doubles, I had here's 12 damage, and he went reroll all of it out the window. So he didn't need to brace it. He just took 6 damage and said, "Yeah, that's fine. That's fine." So he won that game. It was still a 6-5, I think. So second game, I said, let's go ahead and switch out my Rift Ambush. I'm taking abandoned mining facility since that's what I was going to switch it with anyway. And he said, well, if that's the case, I'm going to play your Doom Station. Kind of the same thing. I set my Grav Shift reroute. I put the station close enough to Grav Rift that I could still grab both, push the station into my deployment zone, and push the Rift into his face. He deployed his Mon Cairn really far off to the corner, and the 75 was like right in the middle next where the Rift was starting. So I threw the Rift at his 75 and then used Admiral Titus to slow his 75 down. So he was going speed 1. He nabbed to speed 2, but then Rift slowed him down to speed 1. No. And I had my quad just face off against his Mon Cairn on the other side of the deployment, knowing that my interdictor's in the middle. I can go forward enough, hit speed 5. When his 75 gets to try to support the Mon Cairn, I can G8 slow him down again. So even his speed 3 MC75 made a speed 1 move and was way out of the fight while my quad took on the Mon Cairn. It was brutal.
That's some TV movie show interdictor stuff right there.
It was really awesome. It was exactly what my list is meant to do. And I had my I had my Darth Vader Gazanti sitting on the station, keeping it from getting closer to the Gravity Rift, just scoring me points every turn. So in that game, I was able to get full 6 victory points on the Doom Station. I blew up Mon Cairn. He blew up the quad because, I just, the 75 got there eventually. He dropped Garel's honor with Shriv, because even though he was not even in range to shoot me, he was able to drop a distance 1 hammerhead just close enough where he could corner it, get the corner to my plastic base, and then Shriv off my ECMs and ram me at speed 3. So I was like, what can I do? I did everything possible, and I can't stop the profundity drop. So, he hit me with ECMs, and then Mon Cairn my quad, which put it to on fire territory. So I killed the Moncaron, he killed the Quat, and then my interdictor and the 75 just kind of like flew past each other. He managed to kill my Architan's flagship because I forgot my engineering token to move shields that were on the far side of my ship. So when he shot me for 2 damage, I couldn't do anything about it, and I just died. So that was the difference between me. I won with 6 instead of an 8. That was the difference there.
Man.
What did you have going on, Ruben? What did you have going on, Ruben?
Oh, man. Friggin' 1-drop Radis. So I'm testing the Sato list. That's MC75 Armored, Rapid Launch Bays, ECM's Lando, and then it drops Melee Hera, Dagger Squadron, Gold Squadron. And for reference, Melee went down 5 points, so she's 21 points now, and her effect is once per ship activation. If she, Melee, is engaged by 1 or fewer squadrons and within distance 1 of a ship, when a friendly ship attacks that ship, once per activation, you can spin a die to set a die, set another die to a face with a crit icon on it, and any other icons. So with Sato, APTs, and Rapid Launch Bays, you can get your 3 double die bombers into position always optimally, as long as they're a squadless or low squad fleet. And then you will trigger your APTs guaranteed, guaranteed every attack, as long as they don't have an evade token or PDICs, which is why the 75 is Profundity, and it drops Shriv on a Hammerhead with APTs. So you move Tycho into position because he can always move, and then you drop out Profundity, you pop off their PDICs, you shoot your Hammerhead double arc into them. So you shoot 2 blacks and a Confire for another, a black with a Confire for another black, and then 3 black out the front. And then you fly away because you're worth like 40-ish points, and that's halfway to a 7. So get out of here, buddy. You've done your job. Or go chase something small down, or almost fly off the board. Forewarning about what's going to happen later last week. But I played against this 1-drop Radis fleet that used the Liberty, dropping a 75 ordnance. I've played a fleet like this, fairly similar to a fleet like this, a long, long time ago. I think it was really early when I was playing, and it was Liberty, Moncaron. This one didn't have as much stuff on it, because it was doing like it was doing Rapid Launch Base too. So it was his Liberty like came right at me, and I tried to like cut wide and then through his formation, and he just perfectly dropped his 75 on me and profundity out Shriv on a Hammerhead, and then my Profundity that was flying normally then put out its profundity out its Hammerhead with Shriv on it, and his stuff killed my stuff better than my stuff killed his stuff, and it ended up me getting blasted and not doing the blasting. So that game ended pretty one-sided in his favor. That game left me really annoyed with Radis, and I just don't want to play him because everybody's going to be playing him. So I want to be the contrarian Armada hipster now. I'm in that phase of being a good player. So we're going to do that. And we're not going to play.
Back in my day, we didn't play.
Especially considering that I played Radis for a month, like 2 months ago or something, and nobody just learned anything because it was, you slightly mispositioned, dead. Get out of here. Like it's not too helpful for me to play for the team and the group to like improve because Radis is. Oh, well, you tried to fly good, but you can't possibly deal with me. So, bang, die.
And then Saturday, who all went to Tip City?
Ryan. I'm sorry. Ruben and myself. And Joel. Joel, that's his name. I don't know why I called him Ryan. Joel. On our Discord.
And then Ryan on our Discord.
I know. Yeah, he's there now. So Ruben, Joel, and I drove up, and then we had a group from Louisville that came, and then a lot of the Ohio players were actually missing. And then of course, you guys were missing. So
I had to work. I wanted to be
no,
there.
it's
I really
it's totally
did.
understandable. No, it was a lot of fun. We just did 3 rounds of a standard 400-point tournament. I think we had 13 people show up. Would have been 16 if you guys had shown up with Aaron. And
You were
no, it
really
was
just
good.
twisting the knife on him.
Oh yeah. I'm salty. Let's see. No, it was good. Let's see.
Oh,
What
so
do I
that's
have
why.
there?
That's why you would be. No, I'm kidding.
So Damon came. Obviously best CIS, second best in the world at the moment.
Yep.
He came. He's flying some TF stuff. And then I brought my new bail list, all ship Republic, which is super fun to fly. My first game was against a Trench 134, and I feel kind of bad. He deployed his Providence in a spot that I could pounce all 3 of my ships on round 2 at long range, which is where I want to be because I have swivels and spats. I have 2 acclimators and a Venator 1 and a consular. Anyways, so I destroyed the Providence in 1 turn with those ships, and then but he still had 12 squadrons left, 5 hyenas, Django, and like a ton of vultures and tri-fighters, which I was surprised about because not a lot of people run tri-fighters anymore. Anyways,
They're expensive. I mean, really.
11 points, yeah, but they're really good bombers because they're Black Knight bomber.
Like no
right?
bomber. Yeah.
So I was happy for him actually. He got really good bombing runs on Tranquility, which is really annoying to shoot at. I fully know what it is because I'm like, oh, 2 damage. I'm gonna put it on the rear. 2 damage on the right. 2 damage, implacable on the acclimator. 2 damage, put on the left. And so he did that for like 3 turns, and finally killed my Venator with like his massive bombers. So I was happy for him for that actually. And we played Most Wanted, and his Gazanti was his Most Wanted, so I shot that. And I got an 8 from that game. And then I played an Ozzel Architons MSU list next. And I really messed up my deployment to where I didn't feed his ships into my gun line properly. My Venator had a heyday getting in the action of shooting things. For my acclimators, it took him a really long time to turn. And I should have done this sharp return at the beginning to see where he was going. So I captured a bunch of his Architons out the back and blew up his Vader Gazanti. And then he did a good job of lining up his Architon shots. And he had Demolisher as one of his ships. And I had a consular. I had no fear of losing. I'm going to be totally honest. I was like, full health, all tokens, whatever. I'm second player. I don't care. Because he's going to jump in, shoot at my consular, probably put some damage cards on it, and then I'm going to activate and jump over my acclimator flyway. Anyways, he's flying a Gladiator 2 and throws 2 reds and his blacks and then X-Frags. He gets 2 red accuracies and 4 black doubles. And I was like, all right, well, you got this guy. He's very dead. Well done, sir. And that kind of really messed up my my whole shebang there, because the consular was going to shoot at Demo when it activated, and then the next acclimator was going to finish it off, and I was going to have this position to where I could trap his last Architons coming in, and then he got another amazing shot. He had a Slave Turrets Architons. I was super happy for him. He had to throw a red, and then Slave Turrets a red, and he had a Confire Dial red, and again, well, he didn't need it, but he got an accuracy and the 2 red doubles. And I was like, oh, okay. And that was just enough to kill my Venator, who was limping away after getting his little murder spree in. So I got a 5. It was a 4-point MOV at the end of the game, which was really close. And the last game, I'm so sorry, Joel, if you listen to this, I'm so sorry. Listen, we've made some list adjustments, but his poor victory flew into range and got spatted. And his Gazanti got spatted. And then his Demolisher came in from Hyperspace Assault. And then also got spatted.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I didn't feel amazing about it. But anyways, I
I'm
got 10
sensing a
from
theme
that.
here.
Yeah, so that was nice. So that gave me enough points to get second in the tournament, which was good. Uh, but yeah, no, I love my current Republic list, so I can't wait to keep flying it with some more. Uh, yeah.
You have like the biggest smile on your face every time you talk about it.
Oh, it's so fun. Like, because usually, like, I'm doing all this squadron stuff and it's a ton of work. But this ship, it's like all ships. So I'm just flying around. It's a lot of tokens. Like, it's a GAR list, okay? I got munitions, clone navigation officers. I got 7 cards at ready and exhaust. So it's a lot of triggers, but it's good. The most important part is I've got take evasive action on the Ven 1, and that lets me turn. So
Turning is important.
it would not work at all if I didn't have that.
I always see you first round, and you're always sweating bullets and all red in the face like you're playing squadrons. And then you start throwing dice, and you're like childlike glee and wonder on your face, and you're just wibbling APCing people.
Oh yeah. It's assault proton torpedoes was the important part, which was also really funny in that second game. I couldn't trigger APTs once. I had 3 ships with APTs with Ord experts, Confire tokens, and I couldn't get those to go off for the life of me. I was like, okay, I deserve this. I've been bullying people with my APTs, so.
I'm still looking for the list that gives me that kind of joy.
You get that malicious glee in your eye when you hit somebody with the implacable onto tranquility, and you're like,
oh, yeah, they get all excited, and I'm like, anyways, implacable. 2 damage reduced.
See the light die from their eyes a little bit.
So what was your experience? What was your experience like, Ruben?
So round 1, I played into GAR. It was Pelta, Acclimator, Venator, C-70 with Mercy Mission. He came at me. He played my Hyperspace Assault. I put the Hammerhead in Hyperspace Assault instead of Profunding it in. And he got himself... So how the GAR fleets fly, how they present that flat line and they can't really turn, right? So he got himself in a position where the Acclimator had to get out in front of the Venator. And then so he got stuck activating it first, and I had the 75 and the Torpedo Scout in a position where if he comes into me, I'm going to rapid launch bay him and then blast the crap out of him with 3 arcs. And he tried to maneuver out of it, and he just barely overlapped one of my ships and fell back into the triple arc and just got confetti.
Oh.
But the 75 had to stay at speed 3, and because he I don't know if he raided my nav token or what, but like I had to stay at speed 3, so I'm speed 3 drifting into the side of the Venator as it comes around, and my torpedo's whipping around it, and the Hammerhead, I dropped the Hammerhead in where it was, so my fleet is going this way, and the Hammerhead is pointed this way, forking the Acclimator and the Pelta, and then it shoots at the Pelta, shrivs off the Acclimator's ECMs, and then chases the Pelta to the board edge, and just like sits there and shoots it. And it's a Pelta with engine tech, so the Pelta's running for dear life, and I'm just chasing after it with this Hammerhead, trying to not get in the double arc and get blown up. And that's just the thing that's going on that side of the board. But I was actually able to, after the 75 died, my list had enough damage to then get through Tranquility in like 3 or 4 activations, like over 2 turns. It was like a lot of damage, and I don't really know where it came from, but it was like a 75 double arc, and then the torpedo chased it down. And because the 75 died, I pulled a 7. Takes me to round 2. It's against Imperials, ISD, Simoon, take evasive action, Krennic, all that cool stuff. Onager, Cataclysm, Red Beam, Star Destroyer, Flotilla, 2 TIE Fighters. So I actually had deployment advantage. He took second player. We played March for Destruction because I was like, okay, I can probably deal with this one. It's a little janky to deal with, but it was Ramadi, so I see why the March for Destruction was picked. Core point of the game was I took my 75, kind of did that little outside jog at speed 2, and then I went nav, engineering, squad, so that I can rapid launch base on turn 3. So I queued up the engineering for when Cataclysm shot my 75. I could push my shields back to my front, and I spin Lando on my first turn at the extreme range red ignition shot because I have to get close to the Simon. And then I activate 75 first, move my shields around, jump at the Simon and pin it, and then receive the Simon shot. That was the plan. Plan goes off. I survive the Simon shot because I'm at close and I'm double arcing the Simon, so it can't get out of my double arc. Drop in top of the next turn. Drop in the Hammerhead with Shriv. He doesn't actually have a defensive retrofit, so drop Shriv in, do the Shriv thing, pull off his XI7s because I guess so. Fly away, and then RL take the one hit that I'm going to take from the Star Destroyer, Onager Star Destroyer activating, Dice Vomit this Simoon off of the table in 2 activations. Gone. Keep circling around the Onager. I eventually get blown up by the 75. Well, the 75 dies to like the Onager double arcs and stuff, but the MC30 Scout came in from the other side because, when you're fighting Onagers, pincer them, right? Because they're always going to turn their big gun to go face something big. So you want to dig at their other flank because they've only got 2 shields on their side with something else. So I rolled my torpedo in close and get the double arcs, live through the salvo. So my torpedo doesn't have, it has expert shield text on it, and that's it. So it gets glanced at and it dies. But don't die. Pick up both the largest 400. So I take a 9 in my round 2 because 75 died. This takes me into round 3. Damon and I were back-to-back round 2, so we're talking shit to each other about getting stuck in 6-5 purgatory like we always do when we go to these Tip City events. So, of course, I play top table round 3 versus Damon. So I get to deal with number 2 in the world. He's playing Patriot Fist 4 or 5 hard cells, one of them slicers.
Yeah.
No squads. And TF with a bunch of DTTs and B2 rocket troopers. He has bid on me. I pick his volatile deposits because I've played volatile deposits a little bit. I played that for like 8 months. That and some other objectives when I was farming. He puts his 2 rocks down across from me. I put my rock in the corner, so we're playing on 1/3 of the board because that's what happens when you play volatile deposits. I put my dust field kind of in the middle of everything. He puts his dust field distance 1 from my dust field that also fits distance 1 from his rocks. So now there's this corridor in the middle of the board that has just 2 dust fields on each end of it. So I try to jump my 75 and lurk in the dust fields so he can't shoot me that much, and then I can jump at him and get the rocket launch base drop to go off. But I play a too aggressive line because I do my jump. I move into him, and because I did my squadron dial on turn 3, so I had 2 navs to get there, and I started at the far corner of the board and turned into his fleet. So I have to come out of the dust fields, get shot a bunch by the TF. 75 is basically on fire because really they're made of paper mache. Lando doesn't save me. I do get the launch off, but he slicer tooled my nav, my squadron, so I couldn't actually squadron the turn for the drop, which means I didn't kill any of the smalls. So in the end, I do enough damage and dig around squads and stuff with hammerheads activating a squadron and stuff to get 2 of the hard cells down. But that's it, and he cleans up my entire fleet. Once the Patriot Fist and all the TF dice get online, when you don't have enough defensive tech, especially on a torpedo with just extra kill text, you just get blasted. So,
hey, welcome, Sploder.
Lost the 110 there. I wanted to do better into Damon because I like giving him a good game, and I think it's a good gauge of where I'm at as a player. Right? I don't think I don't feel that the gap between me and him is a 10-1 like that. But it was my that would be 4th game with the fleet. Okay, so going into the matchup, because I went with fairly low expectations and I'm practicing a fleet and I'm trying to innovate a new build and approach to the game, instead of trying to be more reactive in the moment of playing that game, I decided that I'm going to play the same layout that I played in previous games so that I would see what happened, so that I can then assess the game later, right? So you've got to play with like no fear and like no, I don't know, it's from like Musashi, fight without a care in the world, embrace death, right? Those ideas. But instead of it being like actual death, it's play this game to learn it. Don't worry about what the score will actually be and how you do at the tournament. Right? Play with that openness so
Listen,
that you
here's
can
what
actually
happened.
learn.
It was episode 2. Anakin jumped into Dooku way too fast and got his arm cut off. That's what happened.
And what you
I mean,
what you have missed, Sploder, we have just been talking about the games from last week. So what we played Thursday, and we're just finishing up talking about the tournament at Tip City. We are getting ready. Oh, we also announced the winner, but I will announce the winner of the contest again at the end of the show, like we had originally intended to. But we do have some numbers to talk about. Ruben has so generously put together some really great statistics from the World Championship, and I think we would be remiss if we didn't start talking about them.
Yeah, sure. I love me some spreadsheets.
And we will be. I'll try to compile take these lists that he's put together and get this information up on the Discord a little bit later on.
Yeah, sure. So for everybody that is tuned in and listening, this is data breakdown from World Stage 2. So these are all the fleets that were able to win enough games on day 1, so 4 games, that they made it to day 2. So we have a selection of 48 fleets, which means we have a reasonably large sample of data of fleets that did reasonably well. And because if we look at just top 8, it's only 8 lists, so we can't draw wider conclusions about where the game's at. I'm not going to sit here and like quote all the numbers to everybody and do any of that stuff, because technically we are a YouTube podcast. So for all of our listening friends, watch us on YouTube, like, subscribe, leave a comment, share us. Right? We love the interaction from you guys all out there. So let's get into some data. We're going to start with a breakdown of factions. So as we can see, as it's been for all the time really I've been playing the game with Clone Wars out, it's been pretty much majority Empire Rebels, and pretty large one. You only see, this is a fairly normal amount of Clone Wars era factions in play for this level of play. I find that a little unfortunate. I think it's pretty clear that these factions don't get played as much because they don't really feel complete, right, when we look at them. And my only other note is that it seems at the competitive level, GAR has been pretty much abandoned. And we'll look at some data later, and I'll make some more points on why I think that's occurred.
I mean, would it be safe to say, just based on what you looked at, that maybe Republic and Separatists just don't have the tools that the other factions have?
It's at least they don't have enough tools for players to find it interesting enough or competitive enough to play at this level and succeed. That's what I would say.
Yeah. I will say this also, like, there's a popularity matrix here that is also a thing.
Yeah.
But I will say this: if GAR and CIS were equal to Rebel and Empire, because they're not in terms of popularity, their numbers would only double, I would say, of what they are now, which would still be less than half of what Rebel and Empire are.
So you think like a natural population of the game would be like 1/3 Clone Wars, 1/3 Rebels, 1/3 Empire?
I think so, yeah.
I think so. What we saw. That's exactly what we see at Worlds.
Yeah. I think so. Because you can't get around that, like, Empire and Rebels are like the most popular thing.
Oh yeah.
Overall. I think I had a breakdown of even on day one. That was pretty much what we saw. It was like a third Empire, a third Rebels, and then a third total Clone Wars factions combined.
With that being like almost all CIS, and then like 6
Yeah,
Republic
28
Warriors.
Separatists and 17 Gar, which for 45 total, which there was 48 Rebel and 53 Empire.
Right.
And that was that was day one. That was just what people brought.
So a lot of the Clone Wars factions got filtered through that first bracket. Interesting.
Oh yeah, because they can't compete.
Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
you just don't have the tools.
Well, look. So to give a wider view of what we're going to be looking at, we're going to be looking at fleet and meta statistics. So things like how many deployments did everybody bring? How many activations did everybody bring? How much bid did everybody bring? Right, that kind of stuff. So for newer players, I'm going to like reference this conversation as more of like, hey, here's like the guide rails of what successful fleets look like. So when you're building your fleets at home, kind of keep these numbers in mind so that you don't get lost, right? Because if anybody's tried to write a short story or anything, a blank sheet of paper is really intimidating to start. But if you write like, I want 6 squadrons and I want 4 activations of ships and I want a bit of raw points. So now you have a fence where the mind actually becomes more creative in that space where there's just a little bit of limitation. Any other comments on our faction representation before we move on?
I don't think so, because after that it breaks down into like admirals, and
yeah,
that's the biggest thing, right?
Mm-hmm. And that'll be a later episode. We're just doing top line stuff. All right. So next we've got bids, and really, so there's been a discussion in the community over the last like 2 worlds about how deep do you bid if you farm. In the Farm Hawk era, we had a lot of like really deep bids, like the 13s and 16s started cropping up more, and now we've seen we're more equalized around 1, 0, 1, and then if you're farming, you don't need to go deeper than 12, unless you like you're gonna get like 99% almost of your games of choice if you bid 12 or 13. So
yeah.
Damon made a good point to me while we were up in Tip City. I think if you want a small bid, the only viable one is the 2-pointer. And based on how many people we have that were at 0 and 1, I think that 2 points is actually worth shooting for now. But other than that, like these medium, the mid single digits don't seem quite as useful.
So, if you are a farming build where your objectives are important to you, then you definitely want to shoot for like the 12 point.
Yeah. Or if you're Radis and you really want to go first.
Specifically if you're Radis, you desperately have to go first.
Like if you want that choice, bid like 12. If you don't care, you can bid 0. Like I think a lot of it comes down to it's actually really important to learn how to play first player and capitalize on it. Just as like a player skill to develop. And if you want the choice most of the time, honestly, bid 2 points. Seems very well positioned right now.
The biggest thing is like if you're building a list and you're sitting at like 5 or 6 points, there's something you could probably find, because 5 or 6 is going to get you a bid, but you're not going to outbid somebody bidding 10, and you're pretty much guaranteed anybody who's going straight to 400, you only need 2 points to outbid them. So see if you can turn those 5 points into, get 3 more points somewhere.
Because is Nita 2 points?
Nita's 2 points.
Yeah, that'd be huge.
And I just filtered, 10 and above, like where it mattered on day 2. And it really matters because Jason, Reese, Damon, Angry Ewok, Adam, and Ryan all were over 10 and up bid.
Yeah, I was just looking at it too. There's 8 total. On day 2, there was 8 players with bid of 11 or greater, and on day 3, there was 4. So half the people who bid that much made it to day 3.
So controlling like what you get to pick first or 2nd,
Mhm.
like as like the skill level rises, matters more and more and more.
Oh yeah, I'm not sure how to like retrieve the data to like look at bid win rate as like a metric because I think that'd be really important to see for the health of the game. And what that would be is like how many of the player population, if you bid more and win, if you won the bid, therefore you have the choice, what percentage of those players won their games, right? Just as an idea, because then we can use that metric to look at is bidding and second player potentially too strong, or is there something we can do as a metagame develops around this to be able to attack that type of play?
I'm
Yeah, that'd be
gonna
hard to.
throw something out there that is actually related to other games I've played in the past. Going back to HeroClix, which is what I spent the majority of my competitive miniatures game play with. I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt that being first player is not as important in Armada as it is in other games. So I don't know that that choice is going to be as strong. I know for a while there was a moment within HeroClix with which if you were first player, you were winning. I mean, period. It was a 95% win rate. So you're not seeing any kind of numbers like that.
No, no. And Armada, it's average too. There's only a couple fleets that you need to be first player to function. Radis being one of them.
Mhm.
And then
Like
after
if
that,
you're running like a
it's just
heavy farm.
yeah. The fleet I like to fly right now. It likes being first player, but I also don't care if I'm second player. So, I mean, really, Radis is the only one that like you have to bid to be first, and I think that's the only one in the whole game. Everyone else bids to be second, typically.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I've played pretty much my entire competitive career is bidding like 11 to 13 to play second with Starhawk plus whatever I'm playing. So,
Right. Because you
Yeah,
want to be
because
second.
generally, I mean, I'm trying to think of like my super list was like I like going first, but it wasn't enough for me to take points off the bid. Like I just go, I got 1 point bid. If I go first, I go first. If I go second, I have objectives that work for me.
yeah, because it's all about the go second farming is all about unlocking the red technology, about how do we play red objectives. Because I think the advanced gunnery days are over. It's too easy to flip or just fly away from. So it's finding new things to do in that objective slot for your second player fleet.
Yeah.
All right. So next, we've got deployments. This is the combined count of every pair of squadrons and ships in your fleet. So, as a reminder for everyone, if you have an odd number of squadrons, that squadron is not placed until you've completed deploying all of your ships and other squadrons. And we've seen 7 be the normal deployment amount for a really long time in the game. And we'll look at the other metrics that go like correlate with this part as to why 7 is so common. Um, 6 is definitely manageable. 8 will almost always get you your last placement advantage to you. So, right. So, like when you're looking at building your fleet, make sure to bring at least 2 squads, I would suggest, because I think the game is very difficult to play at the deployment phase when you only got like 4 deployments. It's very, very easy to get into a disadvantaged position right off the bat.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree. I'm looking here, and again, players who made it at the 7 and 8, which I think is like the perfect amount of deployments. It was Colin who was the Sloan top 8, and then Reese, another Empire top 8, and then Damon again, and then Jacek, and then Angry Ewok, and then James. Uh, Again, these were all like top players, all had 7 and 8. So it's like
Yeah.
the bid to control, except for uh Sloan, who
Ryan,
didn't
right?
care if they go first or second.
Mhm.
and then everyone else it's bid and perfect deployments. And so it's like that's like the perfect. That's what when you're building classic Armada fleets. These are the two things you need to do: control your objective and have the right amount of deployments. Unless you're doing something real sneaky, like Jason with his 4 double ISD 2 Gazantes.
I was going to say, you can win with 3 or 4 deployments, but you have to really know your game and have you have a plan. You have a really practiced plan. Because it's hard to do. But also, when you look at the fleet, like Jason was flying, he had the maneuverability to kind of do, when you have that maneuverability, like Jerry gives you, you can recover from a bad deployment.
Jerry and TEA. It's not just recovering from bad deployments. It's just wild, right?
Yeah.
Watching him deploy at any point.
Yeah.
No, yeah. That stuff was very cool. Was Ryan at 5 deployments? Because he had Shara, Tycho, 2 flotillas. Well, he was only at 4.
He only has 1 flotilla.
He has 5.
Does he have 2 flotillas? No, he's got Shara, Tycho, 1 flotilla, and it was a CR90B that's on the MC-75 drop. So I think he only has 3.
He has 3 deployments.
3 deployments.
Ryan was playing double 75.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's prefunding the overload pulse.
Yeah.
And then Radis is on one of the 75s.
Yeah.
He has 1 flotilla.
1 flotilla.
Yep.
So he's only got 3 drops?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Ooh. And Shard Tycho.
But again, Ryan's been Radising for years. So he knows exactly
when Radis wasn't cool.
Yeah. I mean, it really was.
He was. He was like the only person bringing Radis to tournaments.
Radis and Lando and Overload Pulse, man, I don't have enough faith in my dice like that man does.
Yeah, which actually came into at the last game. Yeah. He could trigger Overload Pulse off his CR90B. He couldn't do it with the con fire and all those blues. Couldn't get a crit.
So next we've got activations. So this is the number of ships and flotillas you have in your fleet. And we can see that over the last 3-ish worlds, 3 to 4 has very much been the standard that the game has been played at. Your 3 activation fleets are generally your 134 fleets. So you're either the C-70 Pelta Venator builds, or you're the flotilla Imperial small or medium ISD squads. We don't really see Rebels playing the 3 activation 2 ships plus flotilla build. I've played around with it a little bit. You don't quite have the points, and you don't quite have a commander that really helps both ships. So we haven't seen that style of fleet played. And I think that your MSU fleets really need to make sure to not get up to 6, because you're basically going to be fine at 5. So don't try to spread your activations out too much. You want 4 meaningful shooters in a game of Armada, it seems.
Now I kind of felt like with the changes and everything that those numbers would have ticked up a bit, but the math is not showing that.
Well, you're still building. First off, Empire skews these numbers hard because they're flying ISDs and then a couple supporting ships, and then a lot of Rebels. I can't remember who said this. I think it was Ryan. It was there was 10% more Rebel larges than last year, which is quite a few when you know.
I guess we probably saw a lot more GR75, or not GR75s, but the MC75s than
because they went down in cost.
Yeah,
and the stuff you put on them went down in cost.
Yeah, even all the points stuff. If you saved 40 points in upgrades, it's not necessarily going to be another ship. That's going to just be more efficient upgrades and a better combination of things, or more squadrons.
I will say it's easier to play Armada if you have 4 activations. It's hard to play if you only have 3. And that's what most people are flying is 3. And can I filter that in our thing? Ship points. I don't think so. No, I can't filter that one. So I'd like to see like how having few ships help get you in the top. Because I think only maybe Reese had 3 ships, his Onager, Victory, and a Gazanti, but I didn't think he might have had 2 Gazantis.
Day 3, there was 1 3 activation list and 7 4 activation lists.
Yeah. So like 4 activations is just the number you want.
Yeah. But unless you're playing MSU,
yeah.
which again we didn't see really get day 3.
Yeah,
But-
and that was Colin Sloan list, the 3 activation, and his games were wildly swingy. There was just a lot of dice that was involved. I mean, he's an amazing player, obviously, but also like, I was watching on camera a lot of them, just either in his favorite dice or out of his favorite dice, right?
I really like that quat with Admiral Montferrat on it.
Right.
Montferrat.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny stuff.
But yeah, so now we're at, you want to control your bid, you want 7 deployments, and you want 4 activations. This is all things you search for when building a fleet.
Which I am,
So,
I am incorrect in my current fleet build.
Yeah,
You're flying, you're flying hard.
Very intentional about your upgrades, it seems, because the best way to squeeze out that extra bid is really look at your fleet and go, okay, does this flagship really need to be 160 points? Because like every damn tank flagship everybody builds, where you put the EWS on it, you put the BDICs on it, and you put the cool title on it, and you gotta have a gun to go with your squadron stuff, and you're like, and then you put your commander on there. Like I was building them today, and I was looking at this Agate 75, and I'm like, this dumb ship is 160 points.
Right. Does it need to be 160?
This
I
doesn't
don't know.
need to be this. Like, what do we need to cut here? This is like a lot of points, right? Especially when you hit that 400 and you're like, I don't know if I want to play 400.
Right.
Imperial doctrine is every light on the Christmas tree.
Right. Because I think, Chris, like, if we made your fleet, a Quasar ISD and 2 Gazantis, and then made your fighters cheaper, it would change how you play a lot.
Yeah.
Because you're waiting to activate things at that point.
Yeah.
Which
A
would
lot
be
of the
more
full
efficient than better
Imperial
fighters
balls.
sometimes.
A lot of the full Imperial squad balls were like 115. So like they definitely cut some of those generic squads down to some cheaper options to like fit in all the other tools that they needed.
Yeah. And if you bring another Gazanti, you can bring reserve hangar decks. And so then you could cut out a whole TIE Interceptor out of your list because you have a backup inside the
You just
Gazanti.
bring it.
And in case you guys
And then
hadn't picked up on this, I've gone back to Imperials because I have learned that I'm not good at flying separatists.
It just takes time, like everything.
Yeah,
else.
it's
Might
just
be
a
harder.
skill ceiling.
Yeah.
But I recommend people just fly what they find fun.
And I guess that's where I'm at. I'm trying to find what is fun for me. I mean, you guys were talking about it earlier when you were talking about the tournament at Tip City. Ruben commented on the joy on your face when you were flying your fleet, Garrett. And I'm looking for that joy. I'm looking for that fleet that brings me that joy because I know it's there. I just haven't run into it yet.
Because we're pushing plastic spaceships around. If we're not having a good time, what are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
And let's be clear. I am having a good time. I'm enjoying it. It's just a matter of when you find the right build, and I've found this in other games, you are going to experience the game on a different level, and it's going to bring you so much more fulfillment.
Right. And that's why a lot of these top competitive players have been playing the same fleets for like 7 years.
Yeah. Well, and that really shows too. Like, some of these lists, you look at like the meta, quote unquote, and it's like some of these people have been playing just the same list for 4 years, and like they're just really good with it. And there's nothing about the meta that makes that.
They're just having a good
They're
time.
going to keep playing it.
Yeah, they're gonna. Yeah, exactly. And so
Kind of fills me with the urge just to go back to Jer Gerard because I like moving like that.
You mean the number one
good.
admiral in the world?
yeah, I was like, he's good. Like it's hard to really.
I just
argue
I try to find some tricks that bring a different element to my game, but man, movement is so much fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I really I wish we had a better rework on Constantine. I think there's something there, but for fear of making the game unfun, they have kept like that speed manipulation, like doing something to your opponent's ships. They have not touched a lot with that. Same like the same problem we have see with Raid. Raid token is not. They're not everywhere because they try to avoid that like negative play experience.
Yeah.
And like I would love to use Constantine with my shenanigans list because it's all about speed manipulation. And Constantine would just be an extra cherry on that. Be like, hey, I'm just messing with you. Like you are not going anywhere that I don't want you going. But he just doesn't work well enough. When I could have Jerry just fix all my navigating, because having the ISD doing a double click or it's too good. It's too good to put a large ship with all of its guns exactly where your opponent does not want to see it.
Right. So
our next.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, our next one is flotillas. So this doesn't have Gar in it because they can't take one. which I think, so circling back, I think that's why Gar's getting abandoned as a faction. Because when we talk about all these metrics that we're talking about, right? You need 4 activations, you need 7 deployments, you need a reasonable bid. You can't put that together in Gar fleets because you don't have cheap activation flotillas to do it. Because if they had a flotilla option, and you could go C-70 Venator flotilla, and all the ARC 170s and everything, and do Mercy Mission and all that, and you didn't have to activate your Venator before they still have 2 ships to activate, and they can just shoot you. The faction would, like, they may not be meaningfully stronger, but they'd be way, way less punishing to play. Because the minute you put that Venator's nose out a little too far, your games can just fall apart in an instant.
Yeah, and the downside is, because you could say, like, oh, well, Republic has things to not use flotillas. But, like, yeah, okay, so now I got to turn my 50-point C-70 into a flotilla. And then I have to take all my officer slots up with Clone Navigation Officer, who's awesome, but now I can't use my other officers because I need CNOs to do token distribution. Yeah. And my Radiant 7 has to be within range of my fleet the whole time. And it can do double duties, Mercy Mission, if you're flying a fleet like that, which is fine. But now it's doing CNO, Mercy Mission, munitions resupply, and it's only 1 ship. And now it's like, 60, 70 points instead of a 20-point Rebel CommsNet GR75.
That's doing, like just as much work.
Yeah. And the worst part is the Republic needs tokens to do all their stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, the Republic, the design of the Republic ships necessitates all of this machinery to make them function like the Rebel and Imperial ships out the box.
Like Ruben was watching me on Saturday. Like, I'm doing all this CNO swivel Confire token math to make sure I got tokens to undo my swivels so that my acclimators can shoot in a meaningful way out whatever arc I'm shooting at. And it's like, oh, I'm outside distance 5. Game's over.
The Demolisher casually double accuracy quad damage, quad doubles you, and you go, oh, my game,
yeah, once my consular's gone, I'm just like, oh, crap.
Yeah, I almost want to see, because, if like the pass token, for example, exists to help bridge that gap, but I just feel like the pass tokens do not give enough in a game of Armada. If you're playing like a Gar list where hey, I'm going to bring 2 or 3 ships and I'm going to get out activated by everybody else, you only get like 1 pass token. And then it's like, well, when do I use it? And then I use it when I need to, but then next turn I also need to use it again. Maybe if the pass tokens were like, 2 use, where it was like you can exhaust it and then discard it like a defense token.
Maybe, but that's the problem. So, like, I wasn't good then, but I played Armada when they had Strategic Advisor, Bail Organa, and Governor Price.
I was thinking about, like, if Republic had like that.
Awful. It was awful. So, like, you got to be really, like, as soon as you start doing the multiple passing, like, the game for some reason breaks.
Yeah, I really hated when we first got into Armada because every ISD I took had strategic advisor stapled to it.
You had to,
like
everybody.
The first one, the first large ship had strategic advisor because I was like, well, I have to because everybody else is bringing one, which means they're just going to pass over me. So I have to also pass so that I can retain a little advantage because I'm already flying an activation lower.
Right.
And then you can't use any of your cool officers. Yeah, you can't use any cool officers because your ISD always has strategic on it.
Yeah, and everybody, the first round, both the players look at each other dead in the eyes and go strategic, and then you actually have to do something. So it's just a waste of everybody's time.
And then the other players got Governor Price, like that surprise round 3 delay. Like, oh, I don't have to activate, or I think it was like activate first.
It was you activate last.
Yeah.
You pick a round at the beginning, and then on that round, that ship activates after every other ship is activated.
Yeah.
Or it was first,
huge.
whichever. Bale was the opposite of.
Right. Bale was worse than Price. That's what it was.
Next point really is that if your faction can take a flotilla, you better have a absolutely damn good reason not to. The things are so good at giving you an activation to just do something simple to help your whole fleet, move a ship into not a threatening position so one of your actually good ships doesn't have to put its nose out into the enemy. They're just so good. And they're so strong at force multiplying and pushing squadrons and putting your bomber command center in position or putting Torn Far wherever you need her. Like, run one of them. And we haven't even really meaningfully played this whole new slicer team thing. Like that card on just like if you're playing like I'm looking at a fleet right now, I'm probably gonna start playing some MSU plus 134 since I've basically never played that archetype as a way to like improve and expand as a player. And Torn Far, slicer teams, Bright Hope, coming for that top dial, Garrett. Coming for it.
My new fleet, I don't care. We're fine. Whatever.
Well, we have hit the end of our time for this evening. And I know you got more. Yeah, we've got a lot of data, and we could probably break some more out next time.
We could.
But we'll see if there's any other news that pops up in the meantime. But for now, we will go ahead and at some point get those stats up for everybody to take a look at. Any last thoughts that you guys have?
Yeah. May 1st, we're having our unofficial event. We're calling it the Ken Derby. Ken from Iron Radio is coming down for the Kentucky Derby, so we're just going to hang out on May 1st, Thursday at Miso's. They're open from 12 to 8, so there's just going to be a lot of Armada players there hanging out, filming videos, and just playing some games. So come to that if you can.
Yeah, Mid-Rim Mayhem will be there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And that is a reminder also that for those of you that were not here at the start of the show, Caden has won our contest and renamed Thursday Night Armada to Mid-Rim Mayhem. So I will be reaching out to you a little bit later to get your address and everything so that we can send you your tray of measuring tools there.
Yeah. Hopefully he doesn't live in like the northern outskirts of Alberta. Just kidding. That's a joke on a guy named. He's a nice guy named Matt. He wanted to downsize the thing I did once, and I was like, "Oh Ben, this guy lives somewhere real weird, Northern Territories of Canada."
What are your closing thoughts, Ruben?
Be like one step away from the optimal stuff when you start. Like it's not necessarily hard and fast rules. They can be hard and fast rules when you're playing at like when you're competing for top 8 of worlds, right? But if you're trying to build a new fleet, you're pretty new to the game, 6 deployments is fine. 5 squads is fine, right? You're close. As long as you're close to kind of what is successful and you have a cohesive idea to your fleet, you'll learn a lot. And that's the important thing about these statistics. It's not that like, oh, always if you don't have X or Y, you're just never going to succeed. Clearly, we've seen that like all the people here, they got through the biggest worlds we've ever had, and they won or did well enough in 4 games to make it to day 2. So there's a bunch of interesting ideas in these lists that aren't necessarily exactly what this mold is, right? The mold as a guideline is important so that am I breaking it? Does it get me a benefit some way, right? Am I going to 3 activations because it gets me this really like powerful thing? Am I going to 5 activations because it gives me this specific powerful advantage, right? That kind of stuff. But it comes with time, right? So if you're close and you're playing something you love, that's how you really improve.
All right, Nick.
Well, try to say something different than what Ruben said there, but yeah, basically, like when you're looking at these lists, all this data from worlds, especially like day 2 and day 3, where these players are very experienced, very good players. Remember that like list building is only part of the game, and the other part is the experience. So, feel free if anybody who's on our Discord, reach out. We get all these lists all the time. People are saying, "Hey, I built this. What do you guys think?" We always try to give that feedback, but it does always come down to fly what you want to fly, and have fun with it. My core value when it comes to giving advice to Armada players is always, I'm going to tell you, like, if you give me a list and I see something wrong with it, I'm not telling you don't do that. But what's going to happen is the reason this isn't going to work is because, oh, that upgrade doesn't work the way you want it to. I see what you're doing, but you're going to play a couple games with it and realize it's not working the way you want it to. I'm just saving you 2 games of frustration. We never want to tell people, no, you have to fly this. You have to take 2 flotillas and 115 points of squadrons. Like, that's not what the game's about. Fly what you want to fly, and the experience and the skill will come with that. These benchmarks and all this data just kind of shows generally what boils down to the top. And that's because we are playing a game where the 400 points is fixed, the cost of every ship is fixed, the cost of every upgrade is fixed. So these are how people have basically boiled down and funneled into what is efficient, and that's what we're talking about.
And I just want to close out by letting you guys know that here in the last 3 to 4 weeks, we have had a really, really strong uptick in the Discord with people throwing lists out there. And for that, I thank you. I really, really am glad that we are able to engage with folks. You don't see me posting as often. I'm just trying to keep an eye on everything. And to be perfectly honest, my input is not going to be as valuable as anybody else here at this stage. I am more to keep the show rolling at this moment. But thank you for joining us. Thank you for telling us what's going on. And some of you have actually even thrown out some criticisms that have helped me improve the technical side of the show, so I appreciate that as well. So with that, we will say good night, guys.
Good night.
Thanks for having us, Chris.
Take care, buddy.
And thank you for joining us tonight. I hope you enjoyed the show. Again, if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to reach out to us. We are on Discord all of the time, and we really enjoy the show. We enjoy bringing this to you. So hopefully in 2 weeks you'll join us again, and we'll just keep growing. With that, I will also remind you we are doing Thursday Night Armada, so we'll have, actually, Mid-Rim Mayhem now. And you will see that on Thursday on Twitch. And then Sunday we will do Star Wars The Old Republic like we usually do. So thank you guys for joining us, and I hope you have a fantastic night.